Roy Keane said we're an average Premier League team.
Yeah.
Is that a fair assessment with the players that are there, taking into context what Amorim could take us to and his ideas? But right now, as you look at us, are we an average Premier League team?
We've had average performances, and don't get me wrong, there's probably, some, without naming names, some average players in there. But there's also...
Name them! Name the names! We want names!
I'm not trying to get cancelled by the fan base. But and there's some above average players in there as well. You mentioned Roy Keane. We know some former Manchester United players tend to get quite passionate after a Manchester United game. I actually don't really like some of the way some of the questions are quite loaded in Amorim's direction, because they were almost pushing him to a certain answer, which I didn't like, but I digress. Yeah. In terms of Amorim himself, it's interesting because you talk about are they average, are they above average? What I saw from his post-match conferences was he talked about they were thinking too much. They were thinking too much. They were thinking too much. So what his job will be, I imagine, based on what he's saying, is to make it instinctual, which will take time.
Has to become autonomous, doesn't
yes,
it? Has to become repetition. Has to become cyclical.
Exactly, and it will take time because, and as I say, I'm not surprised that game. I said 1-0 last week. I wanted to say it could have been 0-0 or 1-1. I didn't think there was going to be many goals. I knew it was going to be tough. So it's just that instinct is what he's looking to implement into the squad, and that won't be the starting 11.
No.
In a month's time, maybe.
Yeah.
So there's a few... Yes, there's some average players in there, but even the world-class squads will have some average players in there, so I don't look into it too much.
Jamie, in your assessment, are United an average team at best? And until he gets his teeth into some transfer windows, back-to-back, summer windows, to really get what he wants, there's not going to be too much improvement? How do you see it?
Right, so my answer to this is, at the moment, yes, it's an average squad generally. I think I've named the players. I would throw in Onana in that. I'm still a little bit concerned about his sort of quarterback passing out from the back. It's always, not all the time, but often seems to either go out or straight to an opposition player. But what I'd like to add to like my assessment that they're average at the moment, let's see how good Amorim is, because all the really top ones, right, which is what United need and deserve as Manchester United, is a top genius manager like the gentleman across the city. So if he is in that class, then they will become a lot better. And I'll give you a couple of players who I think are average, or maybe past.
Jamie, Jamie will say names, mate.
Rather you than me.
Eriksen, Casemiro, Dalot.
Dalot.
If he is any good, Amorim, he will make those three and the team generally a top 6 pushing for top 4 side this season, right?
Do you think those players need to go ASAP then, the ones you just mentioned, or people like that who you see in the
long run? Yeah, I mean, listen, nothing bad. Casemiro's had an amazing career, so is Christian Eriksen, but it's their age. It happens to all elite athletes, and they certainly were in their prime. So yeah, I think, but what we're talking about again here is yet another reset / rebuild. This is the 6th, since Ferguson, this is the 6th permanent number 1. And all of them have had to come in, Moyes, the Fellaini summer. I won't go through them all, but, Van Gaal, the Galacticos, Mourinho, etc., Solskjaer, the Ronaldo thing. And it's always been a reset. And I just feel like surely someone sometime, before I pass away, is going to get it right eventually.
We're all thinking the same future.
And hopefully it's sooner rather than later. But, this is why, again, I go back to Amorim. I feel he has got something about him, but I've always felt that about the guys who've come in, since Ferguson. I've always thought, this is a good appointment. So let's wait and see. I've just seen too many of these sort of resets. I wouldn't call it cynical. I call it just realistic, based on the facts of what's occurred. I'm a little bit wary because this club has a habit of swallowing up managers and players.
It does, and if on a personal, guys, when I sum up the squad, even before Amorim was coming in and doing various podcasts and different shows talking with fans, I was like, I don't believe our squad is as good as we think it is, just as a default setting, regardless of who the coach is, player for player, pound for pound, man for man. There's players there where you go, well, even if they're functioning to their best capabilities, how much of a gap does that close on? Forget City, Liverpool, Arsenal. How much does that close on Villa, Brighton, Newcastle, Chelsea? Yeah. These types of teams. I think we've got a real big issue with... I'm comfortable with how much centre-halves we've got, and we're going to play 3 now, so that's fine. They just need them to be fit. Yeah. Wing-backs, until we get a thoroughbred left wing-back and thoroughbred wing-backs in the summer, I get that. I'm comfortable with a midfield 2 of Ugarte and Kobbie Mainoo. That can work. I'm really uncomfortable with the front three attacking players.
Oh, yeah.
And you know why? Because I think we have a mixture of inexperience and experience that has had multiple chances that hasn't transpired into quality.
Yeah.
And I feel like Garnacho in that inside 10 that's a big change for him. So quality-wise, decision-making-wise, his age-wise, that's going to take time. I think Marcus Rashford, the only place he naturally gets in, I think, is up front.
Yeah.
That's an issue. Xerxes, I'm looking at him and I'm going, well, in the 10, he's not mobile, but that's his best position. But we're looking at him, it doesn't look great. We're looking at Rasmus Højlund, and he's got a long way to go, yes. He's not a Gyökeres, he's a lot younger than that. So maybe Amorim can get his teeth into him, which is what Jamie said about how good of a coach is he to improve. But Rasmus is way off being good enough, I think, to lead us week in, week out.
Yeah.
I think Mason Mount and Ahmad are the two perfect players for those inside 10s.
Right.
Then what do you do with Bruno? I just think he's got a conundrum with the three attacking players.
Yeah.
And we're 13th for goals scored, guys. Like, it's just been a common theme. We don't score enough goals. And I don't know, or I worry where that's going to come from, Angelina.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's just the constant tale with us, isn't it? We cannot, we can't kill off games and we cannot score goals. And I agree with you with the Rasmus Højlund situation. I think Man United are going to need another striker.
Absolutely. And a top one who's ready now.
This is it. You need someone who's ready now. I think that, regarding the wing-back situation, I think that they're going to need to bring in maybe one or two, because as much as, I've said it a million times about Luke Shaw, he's great, but he can't stay fit. Yeah. That's the bottom line. And I think, you also need to look at somebody maybe in midfield as well, because I think that there are names with Man United that are good. You take Andre Onana, Kobbie Mainoo, Alejandro Garnacho, Bruno Fernandes, just off the top of my head. Those are names that, when you look at the teams that are above us, your Newcastle, your Brighton, your Aston Villa, Brentford even that are above us, that's how bad it is.
Yeah, there's a few ones. We got
those are names that would, be welcomed, in my opinion, into squads like that. So I think that we do have quality in places, but the major issue is the squad depth, because you look at it, between December 30th and January 5th, we have a 6-day break. Apart from that, it's midweek games. They are going to come thick and fast, and Man United do not have the squad depth for it. And I think definitely in that midfield, because, you spoke about Ugarte and Kobbie Mainoo are your key two. Who else do you rely on? Yeah. Who else is there? I mean, I know there's a guy at Atalanta called Ederson, not the goal. Yeah. He's not a goalkeeper, he's a midfielder. Atalanta play in a kind of more similar style in that they have the two midfielders behind a back three. He's a 25-year-old, maybe somebody like that could be good. I don't know if that's a name that has been linked, but, we're going to need reinforcements, because even if those players stay fit and we do manage to creep up the table, it's the depth. We don't have it.